Welcome back. You are watching Global Eye. US President Donald Trump has concluded his first official tour to West Asia, bagging investments worth more than $2 trillion. Trump hailed the Gulf nations for their deepening ties with the United States. His trip began in Saudi Arabia, where he signed a defense deal worth $142 billion. With Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, the kingdom has pledged an overall investment commitment of $600 billion in the United States. Speaking at a summit in Riyadh, President Trump also announced plans to lift sanctions on Syria following the fall of the Assad regime. Trump's second stop on this tour was in Doha, where he was greeted by the Emir of Qatar and other top officials before boarding his motorcade. He held bilateral talks with the Qatari Emir and signed agreements that would generate an economic exchange of at least $1.2 trillion. The biggest highlight of Trump's trip to Qatar was the deal between Boeing and Qatar Airways. The airline has signed an agreement to purchase up to 210 Boeing jets. This includes an option of an additional 50 aircraft. The deal will be the largest wide-body aircraft order in Boeing's history. This is also Qatar Airways' largest order. Trump made his last stop in Abu Dhabi, where he participated in bilateral meetings at the presidential palace. The US president said the UAE will invest $1.4 trillion in America's AI sector over the next decade. He also said that the Etihad Airways would be purchasing 28 wide-body aircraft from Boeing worth $14.5 billion. So big deals on the table and big wins for Donald Trump as well. Let me go across to Talmiz Ahmad, former Indian ambassador to Saudi Arabia and someone who's an authority on the Middle East as well. Ambassador Ahmad, always a pleasure to speak to you. Your thoughts on the big takeaways. Let's start with Saudi Arabia. What has Donald Trump achieved by visiting Saudi Arabia this time around?
See, we have to take into account what the president's agenda was. His agenda is overwhelmingly domestic. He wants to project himself as a deal maker, as someone who works extremely hard for his constituency, and who is bringing in huge sums of money to boost the American economy. At a time when people have criticized his economic policies, he has shown that he has got all these corporate honchos on his side, and they have all come back extremely pleased with themselves. As far as the Gulf is concerned, we are looking at very huge numbers that have really no relation with reality. These are numbers just thrown up in the air. Very often you hear now, earlier you heard $1 billion, now you are hearing $1 trillion. There is no time frame, there are no specific projects. The kind of agreements that have actually been done are at best memoranda of understanding. What the Gulf was interested in was to flatter this president's ego, make him feel good about himself, serve his constituency so that he remains on their good side in coming months and years. There was no geopolitics in the visit whatsoever. And that is a very serious omission. It is pretending as if everything is normal in the region and that commerce is the only thing that matters when you have an entire region that is looking at very serious crises.
Absolutely, sir. And his visit to Qatar, what has really stood out is the Qatari offer of giving him a brand new plane. And the Qataris have said that this is a very simple government-to-government deal, but this is raising very serious questions by former White House officials and former US government officials as well. What kind of a precedent is this going to set? And what is Qatar actually getting from such a arrangement?
I think this offer is in extremely bad taste. It serves no useful purpose. It is embarrassing to both sides. The president has, of course, shown extraordinary enthusiasm, but he has not applied his mind. And these are serious matters. Does American law allow such extraordinary gifts? There are security issues that have been raised about this aircraft. Has the United States reached the stage where it needs such gifts for its presidential requirements? I think this is seriously embarrassing, and luckily this was not mentioned during the visit itself. We will see where it goes, but I must say that my own view is that nothing will come out of it, and hopefully it will just die a miserable death.
Right. The largest significance of his visit to UAE and Qatar, what have these nations actually achieved vis-a-vis their relations with the United States? What's the victory for them over here, sir?
These three Gulf nations have rulers who are extremely experienced and very wise. They have understood the persona and priorities of their guest. They have recognized that Donald Trump, in his second incarnation, is not the same as he was earlier. Earlier, he was propelled by, he was insecure, he was at that time inexperienced, he was very much under the influence of certain elements within his inner circle. Much of that has now gone behind that. His focus today is on his legacy. He wants to show people what a great guy I am. And people, of course, have been saying tongue in cheek that he really desperately wants the Nobel Prize. The Gulf leaders understood this. They recognized that this man goes in for numbers. And then they threw the maximum possible numbers that you can imagine onto him. They don't have to be linked with anything real. It is just the numbers that count in the coming months, and that is what he will be dining out on for a very long time to come. What have they gained? They have gained his goodwill. They have gained, now the president is on their side. They have gained his goodwill. They will ensure that their needs will be met by the American. But frankly speaking, in the absence of geopolitics, there is no strategic content to the visit that I could see.
Right. I'm also going to speak about Iran, sir, because he said that, and he confirmed questions about offering Iran a nuclear deal. And he said that we're close to a deal with the Iranians. What is the signal that he has sent to his allies from the Middle East when he says that, yes, a deal is on the table with Iran and we may have one very soon?
Donald Trump seems to be picking up where he left off. In 2018, he had unilaterally withdrawn from the JCPOA and had promised the international community that he would provide a much better deal. At that time, largely under the influence of the Israelis and Netanyahu personally, he was not able to pursue that at all. The region was left in a shambles. There was no nuclear agreement. Iran was showing that it is moving forward rapidly towards weaponization. Israel was threatening war, and the region was extremely insecure. The folly that Trump committed at that time, under pressure from Netanyahu, is now sought to be corrected. There is dialogue going on. There are already, I think, 4 rounds have taken place. Some more rounds are likely to occur. The president unilaterally announced that they are very close to a deal. I don't think so. Whatever I have read so far, there's some very serious issues still divide the two sides. There is an issue relating to how far the Iranians can go with regard to their nuclear, with regard to their enrichment program. That's a crucial issue. There are issues relating to missile capability. We have some way to go. But he just spoke off turn, saying that, oh, we are very close to an agreement. I don't think they are close to an agreement. However, what has changed since 2018 now, the rest of the region is now desperate for a nuclear agreement. The Saudis and the Iranians have very good relations, as does the UAE. And I think that they have conveyed to the president that from his side, he must do his best. However, his administration is deeply divided. There are hawks in the administration who don't want any deal with the Iranians, who follow the Israeli agenda of no enrichment, no weaponization, no concession as far as Iran is concerned. As far as Trump is concerned, his own position possibly is much more pragmatic. Perhaps going as close as possible to the JCPOA as he could go at this stage. But we have some way to go. This issue has not been discussed in the detail it deserved. It certainly did not come up seriously during the visit. So we will have to bide our time and see how things pan out.
All right. My final question, Ambassador Ahmad, would be how should India look at Donald Trump's relations with the Middle East? His visit to Saudi Arabia, UAE and Qatar, also at a time when there is a certain sense of disappointment with the kind of stand that Donald Trump has taken. In fact, his press secretary going to the extent of saying Pakistan thanked the US, but India has not.
I don't think we should get too agitated. We should not. We should show the confidence and maturity that a great nation like India deserves. As far as we are concerned, we have the closest possible relations with every country of the Gulf, and indeed possibly every country of West Asia, except for Turkey, with which we have difficulties as we have now, as was discussed a short while ago. We have good relations, and those are very substantial relations, and they are mutually beneficial. I don't think Trump's impact on this relationship is likely to be significant. Indeed, I think that these are all separate files. The kind of relationship that the countries of the Gulf have with the United States, they deal with defense and they deal with security and they deal with technology and investment. We are not, they do not impinge on our interests. I think we can go forward to in the areas where we can work with each other as through I2U2 or IMEC. Whenever opportunity comes up, we will work together. Otherwise, we have very substantial bilateral relations with all the countries of the region, and we have nothing to worry about in that regard.
All right, so India has nothing to worry about. We stand on our own feet when it comes to relations with nations in West Asia. Very important points there, Ambassador Talmiz Ahmad. Thank you so much for joining us on the program to really break down Donald Trump's Middle East visit and what he really achieved from there. That's all we have time for here on Global Eye. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.